Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Interactive Wrestling Radio right here on WrestlingEpicenter.com and YouTube. And as you can see by the title of this video, we're bringing back the top 5 list to create the definitive top 5 list. This week's topic, the top 5 tag teams since 2001. Now, I want that last part to be understood, since 2001, because if you start getting into an all-time list, you got to obviously include the Road Warriors, the Steiner Brothers, and so many others that it would just be a brouhaha, if I can use that phrase. So it's since 2001, the modern era, to try to keep ourselves from dating ourselves a little bit here. And
I have to throw out there that tag team wrestling is nowhere near as good now as it used to be. So finding a really great tag team is actually a hard thing to do these days.
Well, that's true. That is absolutely true.
Well, I'm going to somewhat disagree with that. I think in terms of one company, tag team wrestling is fucking abysmal. In the terms of the other national company, why it has some cold periods, it usually has given us some of the best matches of the last 10 years. So, I mean, in the WWE, absolutely, it's the drizzling shit. And TNA has some really bad and low points in the tag team division, but it's still given us.
I think they're in one right now, to be honest. And that's not entirely their fault. Like, everybody got hurt. But, Ink's out. The Guns are gone, which is a huge loss. Jen Meade just walked out. They asked for their release. And now they're kind of left with it's Beer Money, Mexican America, I think the British Invasion, and that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, well, the good news is Jesse Neal is wrestling again, so he should be back in A for too long. And
by the way, if we didn't already announce it, I'm James Walsh, and Patrick Kelly is here. Patrick?
Yo!
Yeah, and Nick Knoll is obviously here as well.
Oh, yeah, you can always tell my loudmouth voice.
All right, so this week I've decided to go first, if that's okay with you guys, to give my top 5. Nick, are you prepared?
Fuck you, man.
Well, yeah, I'm always scared. Because, ladies and gentlemen, I want this on record. James promised me that for once he would take this list seriously, and he wouldn't just throw in some joke answer to be different. As I always say to him, it's one thing to be different, it's another thing to be an idiot.
All right.
I also want to throw out here that these top 5 lists were James's idea.
It is, but the thing is, we agree so often that I want to throw other kind of things in there to try to make people think, and ultimately sometimes I throw picks in there that are a little bit, way off the wall. But you know what? What are you going to do? I think it's a necessary evil.
Look, it's one thing to be off the wall. Off the wall is arguing that Bart Starr is the best quarterback in the history of the NFL. Being an idiot is arguing Ryan Leaf is the best quarterback in the history of the NFL.
Or Kerry Collins.
He's underrated.
He's underrated. He's not the greatest.
I'm hard on him. Yeah, I'm hard on him because he was a Giants quarterback and he bombed in the Super Bowl. But, he just never broke out, actually. I was actually happy for him when he did well with the Titans. Again, they didn't make it all the way.
2001, I mean, that was horrible, the Super Bowl in 2001. I mean, God.
Yeah.
Well,
who did they lose to? The Rams? Was that Warner's year with the Rams?
That was the Ravens.
That was the Ravens. Oh, God. Patrick, you must have been suicidal.
Well, worst night of my life. Well, no, as a football fan, it was the worst night of my life.
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, though, there should be no question that the Ravens won that game. That defense was just unstoppable. I mean, they went
joke.
Scoring a single touchdown, and I think they won all 4 of those games.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I got a list here, guys, and I want you to hear me out. The first one is the only one that's going to be off the wall. The rest of them are going to be solid names here, okay?
Okay.
All right. So let's get this going here. Number 5 is the only one off the wall, and it's because it was for the longest time in the WWE the only tag team they actually had,
and I'm going to throw La Resistance some love. Nick's already worried. All right, here's the rest of the list. Number 4, the world's greatest tag team, Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas. Number 3, I'm going to throw in the Motor City Machine Guns, a team I've been very critical of, but in my opinion, they really have come along leaps and bounds, and it's a damn shame Saban's hurt, as we mentioned just a few moments ago, but they really have come in leaps and bounds. Number 2, I'm going to give Beer Money the nod. And number 1, also a James Storm tag team, the modern-day Bobby Eaton of tag team wrestling. America's Most Wanted. In my opinion, there is no better tag team in the past decade than America's Most Wanted.
All right, now before I go, I have to ask a question. Am I allowed to include Ring of Honor teams?
Yes. As long as it's the dumb motherfuckers known as the Spot Brothers, Jay and Mark.
No, I'm not. It's not the Briscoes. It's not the Briscoes. The team I was going to go with, actually, is the team of Claudio Castagnoli and Chris Hero, the Kings of Wrestling. When I see them in Ring of Honor, I think they remind me a lot of AMW as just that classic wrestling tag team. You know, they're heels, so they play that role very well. And I hear they're going to the WWE, and I think that would be a great pickup if WWE was willing to build a tag division around them. We'll see. I have my doubts, obviously, but yeah, I really like the Kings of Wrestling. Number 4, I'm going to give it to M&M, who was a team that didn't get to live up to their full potential, but again, you know, WWE doesn't focus on tag teams, but they were fantastic, had the look, had the athleticism, had everything. Number 3, I'm going to say the world's greatest tag team, another team that didn't get to live to its full potential, but they're back now in Ring of Honor, and they're doing really well. Good for them, Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas. Then number 2, I'm going to say, and this one was tough, 1 and 2 were really hard for me, but they're the same answers that James gave, only I'm going to switch them. I'm going to say America's Most Wanted is number 2, and Beer Money is number 1, just because I'm a beer drinker, I like to drink, and that gimmick just appeals to me.
All right.
And of course, both teams are excellent, by the way. I have to say, TNA's 2 top achievements in tag team wrestling, no question.
Absolutely, and let's just say this. If there's a award for Tag Team Wrestler of the Decade, James Storm definitely wins it.
Oh, I don't think you can deny that. Like I said, you know, Medusa posted kind of a wet dream babbling session. No offense, Medusa, if you're listening, but saying, who the hell was that cowboy guy on TNA? Holy crap, he's sexy as hell and all that other stuff. And I said, that's James Storm. He's the Bobby Eaton of the modern generation. And, you know, I sat there for a minute, and I thought, you know, that's actually pretty accurate. Bobby Eaton was one half of the Midnight Express, and so many other teams, you know, never actually recaptured the magic of the Midnight Express. But in terms of tag team wrestling, everybody will tell you nobody was better than Bobby. And James Storm has just, you know, managed to recapture that and really make tag team wrestling his forte.
Right, and well, now it's time for my list, and I'm going to agree with Patrick and put the Kings of Wrestling, Chris Hero and Claudio Castagnoli, on this list. To be honest, of a lot of the really great independent tag teams out there, they are really the only ones I could see going to WWE or TNA and making an impact if given the opportunity. Number 4 is going to be Triple X. That is the Chris Daniels, Io Skipper, and yes, low-key, I know it's a 3-man team, but go and look at some of the early matches in TNA. What an incredible team, brought kind of that X Division style into the tag team scene in TNA, and probably 2 of TNA's greatest matches were those cage matches that Triple X had with AMW. Number 3, the Motor City Machine Guns. Incredible tag team. I almost want to compare them sometimes to an updated version of the Rock and Roll Express, where people just get behind them no matter what, and they are able to do so many things. Like, they are one of those teams that you feel like they have the exact same brain, and they're communicating with each other, you know, telepathically. Then number 2, America's Most Wanted, James Storm and Chris Harris, the original kings of the TNA Tag Team Division. And number 1, what else can it be but Beer Money? I think they are as good in the ring as AMW. Definitely part of that is that James Storm and Robert Roode are incredible workers. But I feel like they bring a little bit more in the charisma department, and that's not a knock on Chris Harris. I just feel that they're just a little bit better pairing in a way than AMW was. And I'm not trying to say AMW sucked in terms of their promos or anything like that. So that is my
I think they grew. I think you saw two very raw, green guys at the very start of TNA. And I think that what you're seeing now is a polished version of James Storm, because he's, the look hasn't changed that much, but the persona is obviously so much bigger and so much more pronounced now than it was back then. And
he was kind of a cartoon character when he first started. Or like his early, like go watch his independent stuff before he went to TNA. He was just kind of like smoking guns.
Yeah, he came out with cap guns. The KB Toys cap guns. And if you ever burn your freaking hand on those sons of bitches that hurt like hell, I hate those things. Anybody ever do that? You get these little cap guns, and they make the real gun sound. But
you know what? I didn't even know they were still allowed to make them, because I know they've toy guns aren't allowed to look like real guns anymore.
Last I heard, you can make them, but they have to look like fake guns, like really fake, like.
Yeah.
Well, there's the orange tap in the barrel that gives it away, and I totally understand that law. I think that's a good thing to put into effect. But yeah.
All right. Well, let's argue down this list. As James feared, because he was unable to put Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Eugene on this list, we agreed a lot.
Well, we've got number 1 and 2 is Beer Money and AMW. I think we've all got that, right?
I can leave Beer Money at number 1. I can take that.
Well, I mean, you are technically outvoted because Patrick and I both put them at number 1.
I can live with it. I would argue it, but I think I can live with it. I don't see a reason to argue. So I think 1 and 2 obviously have to be those two, though, because they're the most polished tag teams that actually worked as tag teams. Notice nobody put LOD with Heidenreich in it. Just saying.
Oh, gee, I wonder why. I can't imagine why.
Because we respect animals too much.
There you
go.
go.
I'm surprised nobody said LAX.
I hate Homicide. I couldn't do it.
LAX was good, but there was always they were good, but there was always kind of that special something missing, there was more potential there than they ever really showed in the ring. I think part of that was the flabby Puerto Rican.
Yeah, I think that. What are we talking about? Homicide?
Well, do you think I'm going to call Hernandez flabby?
No, but I could have been talking about the loudmouth white boy who claims to be Mexican in Conan.
Yeah, but Conan never actually wrestled as a member of LAX.
No, he just was the loudmouth mouthpiece, essentially.
The cool thing about that, though, about why that gimmick worked, is because never for a second did I doubt that Conan believed every word he was saying.
No, exactly. The other thing, by the way, nobody ever put over, what the hell were they called? 3 Live Crew. Nobody put over 3 Live Crew on the list.
Oh, gee, wow. They didn't make the cut? Oh, what a shame.
This mother was a bad jam.
The one I'm kind of shocked didn't get named on anybody's list was Caden Murdoch.
That was number 6 on my list, and that's the truth.
I had a list of about 10 teams, and I think they were like number 10. It was where I ended up having them, but yeah. They were considered.
Yeah, they were definitely considered, and they deserved to be. I think they would have been given more credit. Again, they were kind of guys that were casualties of the fact that, they were a legitimate tag team, but they were around at a time when there was nobody else to work with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
so it's like, okay, it's these guys against Shawn Michaels and Triple H as counted fodder, and it's like, well, that's a shame because that's your tag champs getting killed by 2 singles competitors, and that's stupid.
Yeah. So we have AMW and Beer Money number 1 and number 2. Beer Money number 1, AMW number 2. I know James and I both had the Guns on our list. Patrick, did you?
Yeah, no, I did not. My number 3 was World's Greatest. I had World's Greatest Tag Team, M&M, and Kings of Wrestling. Those are my last 3. So I did not have the Guns.
We have 3 left that are on both of our lists, or on 2 of our lists. That was the World's Greatest Tag Team, which is on me and Patrick's list, Kings of Wrestling, which is on Patrick and Nick's list, and there was one other team that had 3 votes.
The Guns were on.
The Guns were on me and Nick's votes. Me and Nick's list, yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to knock for a tag team too badly, but I feel like they kind of suffered from the same issues that Cade and Murdoch and a lot of the other, and M&M even suffered from, only to a much worse extent, and that's that there literally was no one for them to work with. I mean, the only matches I can remember them having when they were actually a push tag team was Eddie Guerrero and Chavo Guerrero, or Eddie Guerrero and Tajiri.
You know what? If I was going to put over someone on this list, I think I'd probably go M&M as a complete package more so than World's Greatest Tag Team. And the reason I say that is because they had the cool entrance, the cool look. They looked like a tag team. They had Melina doing the splits back when she was attractive. So they had really a whole lot going on there. So, I mean, they had something to look forward to each time in that performance. So my vote would go to putting M&M maybe at number 5.
Yeah, I would definitely, if we're going to have a WWE team on here, I would definitely say M&M would get my vote over a WWE team. And I know there's probably someone watching this arguing that the ROH tag title should count more. No.
Well, let's see. So that's it. We got M&M. We're going to put them at number 5. Let's put them there for now. So basically, what's the 2 teams left if we're not going to put World's Greatest Tag Team on there?
Well, that leaves Patrick and I both had the Kings of Wrestling, and you and I, James, both had the Motor City Machine Guns.
Patrick, would you be okay with Machine Guns going on?
That's fine. I don't have a problem with them.
All right.
They were number 6 on my list, so yeah.
All right. So how about, let's see. This is how I've got it listed here, guys, and see if we agree on this, okay?
Okay.
At number 5, I've got M&M. Number 4, I've got the Motor City Machine Guns. Number 3, I've got the Kings of Wrestling. Number 2, I've got America's Most Wanted. And number 1, I have Beer Money. Can we live with that, or do you want to swap anything?
I think, God, it's kind of hard. I think 3 is too high for the Kings of Wrestling. I think they're a great team. I think that they are, incredibly talented, and I would love to see them get signed. That said, if you went out to the general public with a photo of Chris Hero and Claudio Castagnoli holding the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles, and asked them, what do these men do for a living, most people would say, do they fight MMA? Are they boxers?
That's a whole other conversation that I'm getting sick and tired of. But here's what's going on. Real quick, and I want to get back to this list and finish it up. I'm getting tired. My son, Alex, for some reason, probably because Daddy has his old ones on the shelf, likes collecting wrestling figures. So he gets them, he likes them, and he does do moves with them and stuff. He's pretty advanced. It's pretty impressive. He's definitely got it in the blood. Anyway, every time I buy him something wrestling-related, the guy behind the counter is like, oh, yeah, I used to like wrestling. I wore a Hulk Hogan shirt the other day. Somebody said, oh, man, I used to really love wrestling. What's Hulk doing these days? And it's like, I understand that it sucks compared to 10 years ago, or 11 years ago, or 12 years ago, or whatever however long it's been since we've been on this downward spiral. But I wish people would give it at least somewhat of a chance instead of constantly viewing it in the past tense, because it drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to my point. So you think Kings of Wrestling should be 4 or 5 on the list then?
I would say put them at number 5. I feel like they've accomplished a lot for an independent tag team, but I do think part of it has to be how well known you are, the exposure you got on national television. And I think in those terms, obviously, Eminem and the Motor City Machine Guns dwarf the Kings of Wrestling.
Would you agree with that, Patrick?
Sorry against that.
I'm fine with that. I'm cool with that. I'm down with that.
All right, final list. 5, Kings of Wrestling. 4, Eminem. 3, Motor City Machine Guns. 2, America's Most Wanted. And number 1 is Beer Money. That's never been in doubt. And there is our definitive top 5 list. If you have a better list, check us out on Facebook and post it. Post a comment here on...
Yeah, quote-unquote better. Yeah, fuck you.
Yeah. Well, all lists are imitations, therefore, my friends. No list will ever top this list. That is,
exactly.
Unless another great tag team comes along. Anyway, so let's get right down to it and talk about some of the hot events going on this week. And the Cult of Personality, Mr. CM Punk made his return at the very end of Raw this week, and a lot of people have mixed emotions on this. I am certainly one of them. Maybe too soon, maybe unfortunately the writing is on the wall of what storyline they're going to go with, and it's kind of a lame, bog standard story, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. What do you guys think of
Here's my problem with the whole thing. Here's my problem with bringing him back as quick as they did. Number 1, how is John Cena not the heel in all this? I mean, he won the title off a guy who wrestled earlier in the night, so it looks like the company just handed him the title on the silver platter. So the tournament meant nothing. I mean, we can erase that. That was absolutely worthless. And the intrigue of the Punk story, for me anyway, was what's going to happen now that he's not there? What's going to happen now that this guy walked off the show, didn't sign a new contract, but he left with the WWE title? What's going to happen? And I keep comparing it to Sting 97, but that's the direction I thought they were going to go with Punk, where he wasn't going to be there every week, but he would show up in the crowd, or he'd jump the rail and do something one week, and then we wouldn't see him for a while. It was fascinating to think about. And I had it, thought out in my head, so, maybe he could stare down The Rock at Survivor Series, jump the rail and confront him or something. I don't know, because Rock's been confirmed for Survivor Series. And all these things I had is like, well, you can't do it now because he's back. And all those potential cool moments you could have done to make Punk even more interesting and try and, stretch this out as long as you could, you just flushed it all down the drain because he's back now. So, all right, and Cena's the champion, so we're right back where we were a month ago.
See, that's just the big issue to me. One, it kind of derails the whole point of Money in the Bank, which was, oh my God, the crazy guy has our belt and he's not here. And, the big issue for me is, talk about cramming potentially 6 months worth of story into 2 weeks. I mean, you had a tournament to crown a brand new champion. One of the things that these bigger pay-per-views struggle with is that there's nothing really anymore that makes them feel really special. Why not crown the brand new WWE champion at SummerSlam? I mean, that would have been a perfect moment. And, they always talk about how they want the big moment. Well, you could have had it right there. And, yeah, I mean, somebody was even saying, I posted, the video of Punk's turn on our news line and on our Facebook page. Fan Kellen Huber, I hope I'm pronouncing that name right, basically said, more like return, in quotes, he's only been gone 8 days. Exactly. It's just a total cram job of what could have been a really good storyline.
But it's a casualty of the Monday Night Wars, which haven't been happening for over 10 years now.
Yeah, and that's just it. That's why I'm going to call bullshit on that being an excuse. There has to come a point with this company where they realize that. They have to say, you know what, we don't have direct competition on Monday nights. And, I'll always be the one to say it. Our quote-unquote biggest competition is more than 2 ratings points behind us. So they don't have the excuse of, oh, well, we got to do something big every single fucking week. We got to do something big every single fucking week. This is summer, ladies and gentlemen. TV is dead. The only sport that's on is baseball. You can afford to be a little lackadaisical right now in terms of what you're pumping out week to week. You don't have to have a big cliffhanger, oh my God, every single week. And it's basically, it's kind of like when people are telling you when you buy something as an investment and you hold on to it for a year, and people are saying, no, if you hold on to that for 2 years at least, you'll double your money, but because you want the extra $100 right away, you just rush into it. I think they potentially blew a lot of money out of this because just imagine if they would have gone through a whole storyline. Ray wins the belt at SummerSlam. John Cena challenges at whatever the pay-per-view is in September, but he comes up short for some reason. Finally, at the October pay-per-view, John Cena regains, and if this for me booking, he does it in kind of a heelish way, and they're trying to maybe turn him heel. John Cena has the belt, then you hit that music, and you can be like, what the hell's going on? And out comes CM Punk. If you could have made people wait, as loud of a reaction as he got on Monday, it would have made his reaction at Money in the Bank seem small if they just would have made people wait,
People want to wait, though. People want to wait, and that's the thing that they don't get anymore. They want to rush all these stories because they feel like, and I'm going to use an example from the Immortal DVD. They believe that because there's 700 channels now compared to 99 in the past, that they have far more competition, and as such, the stories have to progress that much quicker. I don't believe that to be the case at all. I could be very crass with an example I could give, but you know what? Guys go through the trouble of a relationship, taking the girl out for those 3 dates before they're guaranteed sex, because they want that person in that way. They want to earn it. They want to feel like they've accomplished something. Could they spend $100 and have a little Asian lady come and give them a happy ending in about 20 minutes from their house? Sure. That would be just as easy. But why would you want to do that when you can earn something? And fans love it. Fans love the opportunity to go on a journey, go on a ride, have emotion involved. And unfortunately, right now, we're in this position where, and both companies do it, more so WWE than TNA, but they have this desire to, they did something awesome every single week. You got to watch every single week. But the thing is, and I try to use this example with Khali and Andre the Giant a lot, if you saw Khali once a month or so, you'd probably not realize he sucks in the ring as quickly.
Yes, he would.
He'd be more buyable as a giant killer. Andre, if you saw Andre every single week, he'd seem less special. And the bottom line is, when you do nothing but big event, big event, big event, big event, nothing is big anymore. It's just all the same.
And that's the same trap that WCW fell into. And, here they were when they were at their best was when they were kind of saving stuff. Like, again, I keep going back to Sting and Hogan. They built that sucker up for a year and a half and made people wait that long for it. And the financial benefits were, speak for themselves. Artistically, it was a failure, but, and let's look at, let's apply that to movies. I mean, the last Harry Potter movie just came out. The first one came out 10 years ago. It took them that long to get the entire story put up there on film, and look at how much money it made. Biggest opening day in the history of cinema.
Here's the thing, we also talk about how fans like to go on the journey. You know what happens if you let that build? Word of mouth. You have fans saying, hey, man, CM Punk's talking all this crazy shit on Twitter, talking about how he's getting really sick and tired of the fake champion. I think he's going to be at the next pay-per-view. I really do.
And the thing was, TMZ posted pictures of CM Punk celebrating after Money in the Bank as if he legitimately got away with something.
Yeah. And that's just it. You know what? And you could have built a longer storyline into it, and just bringing it up. And what would really be so bad? And one thing I would have loved for them to do if they would have taken Punk off the air for a couple of weeks or even months, have him grow his hair back out. Have him come out looking like the CM Punk for Ring of Honor and say, gee, do I not look like a WWE superstar? Good. You know, have it be, because, I mean, I think kind of what Punk's going for in this whole story is he's saying, I want to be independent. I'm going to be the anti-superstar. I'm not going to be the corporate stooge that I accuse John Cena of being. That's what they should be going for, and they just have completely rushed it so quickly. I mean, the second that music started playing, I actually thought, I said, okay, if he comes out, big mistake. If that music just stops and you're kind of wondering, what the hell was that? Right move. I mean, why not, if you want to do this whole thing with the music, why not build that up? Have that music start playing after seeing his matches and have him kind of be like, what the fuck is going on? Why is this old 80s hair metal playing?
Technically, yeah, I guess that was hair metal. It was Jerry Curl hair metal. For those who don't know what I'm talking about, Living Colour was a hair metal band from the 80s that did Cult of Personality, but unlike every other hair metal band, they were black. Every member of that band was black, which was kind of a extreme thing back then. I guess they're the first real hard rock black guys since Hendrix. Anyway, there we go. Just a random thought.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. I mean, God, and that's just it. I will still maintain that the CM Punk storyline is the best thing the WWE has going, and I'd rather see him than Triple H trying to be now the CEO or whatever, COO or whatever they're going to call him.
How many different authority figure titles are they going to come up with? I mean, there's been the president, the commissioner, general manager.
Did they ever reveal who the general manager was, by the way?
No.
So that's going to be who was driving the white Hummer of WWE.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, they already had that with GTV.
Which, from what I understand, originally GTV was supposed to be GD TV. It was going to be Gold Dust TV. Then, Dustin Rhodes was Dustin Rhodes and got himself fired.
And they never said who was behind GTV, but they kept GTV going for a year, I think.
And then would try to bring it back every once in a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would go away for a while, and then it would come back for, explanatory. When they wanted to explain something or have exposition of some kind, they would bring GTV back.
Now, I'm not going to be here for very much longer, guys, but I wanted to bring this comment out. It involves two former guests of our show, and it kind of goes along with Gold Dust.
Uh-oh.
New Jack posted some bizarre post on his Facebook page claiming that Terry Runnels had given him and half the wrestling business sexually transmitted diseases.
Okay, that's fine.
I don't know why that amused me as much as it did, but I was pretty amused by that.
Well, let's be honest. I mean, it's New Jack. Are we really going to put a whole lot of stock in that guy's voice or that guy's word? Doesn't he claim to be a bounty hunter that killed 4 people?
Yeah, well,
he might have. I mean, cut the shit out of mass transit.
Yeah, he did. Well, I mean, you could say he killed that kid because that kid ended up killing himself.
And then didn't he also beat up some 79-year-old man?
Yeah,
I think that was a work.
No, that was not a work. Gypsy Joe was and he's still alive, by the way. He is a hardcore guy who's been around for 112 years. He was the old guy who trained Pat O'Connor, I think.
What?
I'm kidding. So anyway, he's really old. I mean, really old. But his gimmick in that area, that independent area, was always how hardcore he was. And he was wrestling New Jack, and New Jack insists he called him boy or the N-word or something, and went nuts on him and started really just pelting him with stuff. And it was different than a hardcore match. It was just you could tell.
Have you seen it?
Yes, they have it. It was filmed, I think, by High Spots or something like that. It probably is on YouTube if you look for it. New Jack and Gypsy Joe. It's a frightening thing to see him go off on this old guy, because the old guy, look, he's a tough son of a bitch, don't get me wrong, but he's not going to be able to defend himself against New Jack.
Of course.
That sounds like a bum fight, actually, when you throw that to me. It's like New Jack versus Gypsy Joe.
Yeah, so it was.
The winner gets to face Boxer Bob.
Well, considering
either that or an STD from Terry Reynolds.
Considering the amount of money that's on the independent circuit, I think you probably would have gotten more money for the bum fights. Look, I love independent wrestling, and I'm not knocking every one of them, but there are a lot of independent wrestling shows out there where, if those guys are making any type of money from the gate, I want to know how.
Oh, well, most of them, it looks like it's a, 3/4 empty gym.
That's almost what it is.
That's the successful ones, Patrick. Like IWA Mid-South is one of the most successful independents. I mean, yes, they've had money problems of late, but they've been around a long time. And if you watch their shows, there's not enough people to surround the ring.
Right. But I know a lot of companies sell their DVDs. I mean, Ring of Honor, from what I understand, their policy is, look, even if there's a fucking snowstorm and nobody shows up, film the event because then we'll make money off the DVD. But I mean, even then, I look at some of these companies, like these Alphabet Soup promotions, which I assume that if your main event is New Jack and Gypsy Joe, you can't be that successful. And I want to be careful about what I say because I fear New Jack will hunt me down and kill me. But
he'll just post a Facebook thing telling him that you gave him STDs.
Now, now, has Terry commented on this at all, or is she just kind of ignoring it? Or
I have not seen her respond to it. If I were her, I'd just ignore it, because a lot of times if you address the aggravator, it's just going to get worse.
Yeah.
So you kind of just like, oh, okay, ignore it completely. That's the mistake Hogan made with Warrior. It's like, dude, just ignore him. Just ignore him.
Just let Warrior go.
Let him be the basket case that everybody knows he is. Don't engage, and there you go.
I would love to actually just sit down and have a discussion with the Ultimate Warrior. By discussion, I'm just like, so, how was your day? And just watch him go off on a tangent for 30 minutes.
Somehow rambling about how Heath Ledger killed society. And yeah, that would be interesting conversations.
What is it that I think it was Ted DiBiase said on like the Ultimate Warrior DVD. It's like, changes his name to Warrior. Like, I mean, his wife is Mrs. Warrior. Kids are the Warriors. Like, does it say Warrior on his mailbox?
Does it say Warrior on the mothership that comes to pick him up at night?
Oh God! Like, you serious? I actually would like to actually meet him and just talk to him for 5 seconds and try to figure out, is he just that crazy all the time, or does he go through like episodes where he's off his medication?
Or is it the greatest work of all time?
Yeah. Well, it's something.
Yeah, but that's what I don't get. He goes on these rants wishing death upon people. The WWE goes out of their way to produce a documentary telling people why he's a piece of shit and why nobody should ever have liked him. Yet, if you go to Walmart right now, you can buy an Ultimate Warrior classic wrestling action figure. I don't get it.
Well, look, he was in the Legends of WrestleMania game, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. That game sucks.
Or WWE All-Stars.
WWE All-Stars, that game sucks. Nobody buy that game. I'm sorry if that makes me a bad guy. Nobody buy that game. That game sucks. It sucks.
It looked like they were trying to recreate In Your House.
That's what they tried to do. I said that, and this is before Savage died, but I went on a rant on my Facebook page, kind of Ultimate Warrior-ish, and I said, okay, I'm Randy Savage. I'm wrestling against Hulk Hogan. Randy Savage just did a Hurricane Rana, followed by a backflip onto the top rope and a big elbow drop. And I said, I can honestly say I have never seen that happen before. And what Matt Shiver posted a response saying, "Yeah, but you never seen his Memphis days."
Yeah, I saw him do that all the time. He did it against Austin Idol in the Memphis Coliseum. Then I think he did a 450.
It's just, it bothers me because they do these ridiculous things. Like Cena does an FU, but they all go like all the way up to the ceiling, and it's like, oh man, don't do that. Where's Doink with the joy buzzer that electrocutes you?
James, it's not
Undertaker throwing werewolf.
and Yokozuna having turkey breasts come out when he leg drops you.
What was the... God, you want to talk a bad video game? There was one that they did for Nintendo Color, which was like just where you were either The Undertaker or Triple H or The Rock. And you didn't wrestle anybody, but you fought like the same minion over and over again as you attempt to rescue a kidnapped Stephanie McMahon.
I heard about that game, yes.
And then
it's called like Betrayal or something.
Yeah, and then like the end of the video game is, you know, like in the Mario games, when you win, Princess Peach gives Mario a little kiss. The end of this game was, sorry Undertaker, sorry Rock, sorry Triple H, she's in another building.
I thought you were going to tell me she gives him a blowjob or something. If it's The Rock, she like gives him a kiss. If it's The Undertaker, she like bows down to him. If it's Triple H, she blows him. And it's like they each get their own ending.
No, she has his kids, and then her father gives him the company.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the happy ending for Triple H.
Which, by the way, if I'm convinced Triple H is going to keep having kids until he has a son, so that way he can retire and have his child take over the WWE as an in-ring competitor.
That would be horrible to force a kid into that.
Well, look,
I'm just
saying that right now.
Oh yeah,
especially that job, because that's not your 9-to-5 job. This is a company that requires nonstop attention, and that's something you can't fault Vince for, is how hard he works on the show. It's just a shame that for whatever reason he lets certain voices in that let him produce a show that
like the ones in his head
changed. What's
like,
that?
Like the disembodied voices in his head.
Well, no, you surround. It's like Amy Winehouse. Last comment, and then I'm going to go. Okay.
Okay.
The problem with people like that is that you surround yourself with people who will tell you that it's okay.
And
until you meet someone with the balls to say, you're fucked up, you need to fix this, you're never going to change because you're going to think that it is okay. And if somebody does tell you that it's not okay, you're going to get them out of your life to find somebody else who tell you that it is okay. It's classic addiction. And, you know, Amy Winehouse, I never heard one of her songs. I don't know anything by her. I'm not speaking ill of her. But anybody who was surprised by that news is an idiot. She was famous for being a fucking mess.
Well, I'll say this. It's like what Triple H said in the Von Erich DVD. He said, the lesson is, kids don't do drugs.
Yeah. I mean, give credit to Ted Nugent, a crazy old bastard. He said, parents, this is why you tell your kids that drugs and suicide are crazy. That's the only comment he's made on the entire thing, and I thought, you know, that's pretty dead on, I think, don't you think?
Because, you know, Ted Nugent is the bastion of sanity.
Yeah. Well, you know what? If you listen to him, if he ran for president, I'd vote for him. I don't believe in hunting. Don't get me wrong. I think everybody has the right to. Just not for me. But if I can get past the hunting stuff, it's that's pretty sensible.
Well, you voted for Sarah Palin, so would it be that much of a stretch?
Not really, no.
Uncle
Ted's campaign would be vote for me or I'll shoot you.
I'll say this: when Nugent actually goes on like talk shows, and different stuff, you can tell that there's always that smart-ass reporter that thinks, oh, I'm going to make this dumb Republican rock star look really bad, and tries to ask him a question, and then Ted will answer it intelligently, and the reporter actually is like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
He's got a brain up in there.
I get that feeling with Hogan, too, that they think, oh, he's just a big, dumb, old musclehead. And then Hogan comes and says something pretty intelligent, and there's this awkward, okay, he's not a moron phrase. It's like, oh, he didn't obtain this fame by being a moron. Okay. And then the line of questioning changes. And I guess it's got to be tiring for these guys to get that shit, because it's like, oh, come on now. Look, if you're 60 years old and you've been in entertainment for 30-something years and you're still a relevant name, you're not a moron. And I'll leave you with that.
All right. Till he comes back in 2 seconds to interrupt us.
All righty. Did James just leave?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. All right, well, I actually have to go to bed in a little bit, but I've got a little bit more time to talk about something. Is there anything else you wanted to discuss? Discuss? I'm stuttering. Anything else you wanted to discuss before we left, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, trying to think of something. I mean, we already kind of talked about, CM Punk and, the return and how they basically just crammed the whole thing into 2 weeks. So, I mean, we got some stuff with TNA, but there's nothing there's nothing really all that big going on, even though, you have Dave Metzler trying to tell people that the company's screwed.
What's he saying now?
Well, he's saying apparently Spike TV plans to start moving away from being, all about, guy shows, trying to be more of a broader cable network, something that would appeal to men and women. And, of course, Dave Metzler writes on his report saying, of course, if Spike TV cancels TNA, they are screwed. And they will, unless another network picks them up. I mean, you would think they had announced TNA was getting canceled. And what Dave doesn't tell you, ladies and gentlemen, is that TNA is the one show on Spike that breaks a 1.0 week to week. And because TNA takes most of the production costs, it doesn't cost them a whole lot of money outside of, I think, the advertising. So, also, Spike is investing in TNA, putting money for them to go on the road and tape outside of the Impact Zone. So, it doesn't sound to me like Spike TV plans to cancel TNA anytime soon.
Yeah, until I hear something more concrete, I won't worry that TNA's getting canceled. Like you said, I mean, look at that network and tell me what else is on there. You've got, James Bond movies, Star Wars, a bunch of stupid-ass shows that degenerates will enjoy. I'm one of them. I think Deadliest Warrior is kind of cool, and I think 1,000 Ways to Die, as morbid as it is kind of hilarious. But, these are stupid-ass shows. And then you have TNA Wrestling, which is their highest-rated thing. So, they're not going to get rid of that.
Well, Spike TV, its biggest problem is it tries to be a network for men, and the problem is it immediately always goes for the lowest common denominator. I mean, you got Mansers, and half the shit on there is either gross-out stuff or girls in lingerie, and don't get me wrong, guys like that, but you know what, it's not like that. There's nothing there to grab you for more than 5 seconds, After so long, you kind of get, it's like you're overstimulated and you go somewhere else. And,
it's WWE 2003. Everybody says that the Attitude Era was a success because of the sex, the violence, the cursing, and all that shit. And it's like, well, yeah, but it had some great substance to it. And once you get into 2003, where it was the Attitude Era without the substance, people left.
Right, yes, that's just it. I think that's always been Spike's problem. They don't have that substance there. So I don't think TNA is going anywhere. I'll even say this: if TNA does get canceled on Spike, which I don't think is going to happen, there are going to be other networks out there. Let's look at how many different home sci-fi Spike SmackDown has had in the last 5 years.
Well, they went to UPN. then I think they were on like my network CW, and there was that whole confusion there. I still don't know entirely what happened, and then they wound up on Sci-Fi.
Exactly. So I mean, there's going to be other networks. You know, I've heard people say that FX is interested in getting into wrestling or MMA somehow. So I mean, who knows? I mean, I think it's just Dave had a slow news day and he felt like pumping it up. So, but anytime I can insult Dave Metzler is a good day for me. So yeah, I mean, we got that going on. So, you know, unfortunately, it does look like R-Truth is going to feud with Triple H, which it seems like.
Yay! And I'm sorry, everyone. He is terrible. He is terrible. I don't understand this gimmick. It reminds me of Planet Stasiak. It's just, he's crazy, but it's like, I don't know where it's coming from.
Yeah. Also, Pat, I don't know if you saw this show on Monday, because we all know Triple H likes to be funny sometimes. So on Monday, R-Truth came out, and he starts looking around, and Triple H just says to him, "So are you talking to me, or are you talking to all these other guys out here?" You know, and then they get into this whole debate about them talking to their imaginary friends, and just like the stupid humor Triple H thrives on.
My little Jimmy, yeah, you told him, little Jimmy. I'm like, what the fuck is he talking about? I don't understand this gimmick. I've just never liked R-Truth, so there you go. Although I will say this gimmick, best theme song he's ever had. I'll give it that.
Yeah, which I do want to address one thing really quick, and it was just a stupid comment that I read. And for those that don't know, like last weekend, CM Punk appeared at an independent wrestling show, and he happened to interrupt the match before his friend, Colt Cabana. And this idiot posts, Colt Cabana is the biggest hanger-on since Ed Leslie. And I'm just going to say this, Colt Cabana already had that booking before CM Punk did anything, ladies and gentlemen. And once Colt Cabana starts showing up on WWE TV, don't accuse this guy who's been working hard, busting his ass for nearly 10 years on the independent circuit as being a hanger-on.
I would have thought that the biggest hanger-on or biggest tag-along would have been Shannon Moore. He's kind of like the Hardy Boys version of Brutus Beefcake. But, yeah, I mean, it's Punk looking out for his friend, and it's like it hasn't gotten Cabana a job in the WWE or anything. It's just kind of, you know, Punk helping out a buddy. Nothing wrong with that.
Right. Yeah, so, I don't know. I just wanted to address that because I thought it was just a stupid thing to write because if people that do not know, Colt Cabana has accomplished a lot on the independent circuit. It is a name on demand out there, so it's not like CM Punk is taking a guy that nobody ever knew of before, you know, and getting him a bunch of work.
Mm-hmm. You know, one last thing about Cabana, it's like I'm amazed that he didn't last in the WWE. I mean, there's a guy with all the personality in the world. I mean, that's kind of his whole shtick, is that he's funny. He's kind of the white JYD who can actually, you know, get on the mat and wrestle. That's kind of his shtick. And, yeah, they didn't know what to do with him. It's kind of, I'm amazed.
Well, his shtick was always kind of annoying CM Punk. Some of the best stuff Cabana ever did would just be things where he would, like, start annoying Punk, you know. And there's some great comedy there. And I even one time Punk was cutting a promo, and he turned to Cabana and said, "And before you fucking interrupt me again," I mean, yeah, I think the reason they didn't want Colt Cabana to succeed in the WWE was he wasn't one of their golden children that they had created. It was his gimmick on the independent circuit, so it must be a bad thing.
Well, either that or I was thinking about it maybe. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Nick, you're right. I'm here to interrupt it for a second. But that's another thing they could have done with the CM Punk angle, is they could have done a thing where there would be a faction with a purpose. They could have brought in people like CM Punk, which they're teasing they're going to do anyway, people like Colt Cabana, which they're teasing they're going to do something with anyway, and actually have these people brought in with some sort of a purpose, some sort of a meaning.
What's weird is, James, that faction people keep reporting is CM Punk, Colt Cabana, Paul Heyman, and Brock Lesnar, which I don't think those last two names are coming back to the WWE.
Yeah,
I don't think so either. I would think it'd be like just a bunch of ROH guys.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they talked about getting the Kings of Wrestling, so yeah. There you go.
Well, I'll even say this. I am reading Brock Lesnar's book right now, the Death Clutch, And he talks about it, he says, look, I'm sorry that there aren't a whole lot of stories about my wrestling days in here, but here's the truth. I was in pain and so goddamn miserable all the time. I was drinking Vicodin by the gallon, and I was popping pain pills every other hour because I was in that much pain. So excuse me if I can't remember every fucking detail as all the fucking cities blurred together as I was burning out my body.
Yeah, he didn't enjoy it too much.
Look, he even says it. He says, the reason I signed with the WWE was I was a kid out of college and I had huge student loans to repay.
That's funny. That's and you know, people within the business kind of look down on people like that. Either, oh, they left the business, or oh, they they went off and tried to do other things. I mean, Rock still catches heat for it, but look, if it's not for them, it's not for them. And you know, if you're miserable there,
some people love it. It's like music too, though. Some people love it. Some people can do it forever, and nobody will ever tell them that they can't do it anymore. I mean, Flair, Hogan, all these guys, they love it and they'll never leave it. You know they're never going to leave it. But you got guys like Brock Lesnar who may have, all the potential and all the skill to be there forever, but if it's not their personality type, then they can't do it. You know,
I'll be honest, I could never do it for a living. I mean, besides the fact that I just don't have the athletic gifts, there's also the fact that I hate to travel, so I'd burn myself out after at least a month.
I'd be able to do the TNA schedule. I would not be able to do the WWE schedule. There's just no way.
Brock, even in his book, he says the best piece of advice he ever got was from Curt Hennig. And Curt said to him, kid, get in and get out. And he says in his book, he says, I look at Ric Flair, still going woo, woo, woo at age 60. I'm like, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be pulling, knee braces on arthritic knees and, looking that horrible at 60 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be that either. I mean, Flair, I mean, there's talk. We want to talk some TNA news. He said, and, take it for what it's worth, Flair said that his next match is going to be the winner of the Hard Justice match between Sting and Kurt Angle, so I assume that's going to be a world title match.
Well, first off, from what I've even heard, there's actually a chance we'll never see Ric Flair on TNA again because he's had two major incidents where he's pretty much pissed off everyone backstage, that being...
What was I know the one, which is the one where he refused to get on the bus, but what was the other one?
Appear in front of the crowd. So, look, I've always said this, and I'm probably the biggest... I'm easily the biggest defender of Ric Flair on this line. But you can't take a fucking thing he says worth a damn. I mean, look, every other word out of this guy's mouth is life. He says it's sunny outside, grab an umbrella.
Oh, boy. Yeah, I do have a question for you, Nick.
Uh-oh.
Unrelated to Flair, and this is my last thing. I promise this time. I won't be coming back this week anyway. A few months ago, TNA was introducing a new character that was clearly a attempt to capture on drug addicts in Cara's success in the WWE. Alleged drug addicts. Alleged roid head, alleged Mexican janitor, whatever.
And you wonder why people think you're racist.
Anyway, they were trying to do this character, and he kept beating suicide. And then I think that story's been completely dropped because I don't remember there being any kind of conclusion to it. Who was it?
Because they knew it was stupid. It was Amazing Red.
Well, from what I understand, that they decided to go with using Red as Red at Destination X, but he's actually doing the character on the house shows. And I do think, and people are going to hate me for saying this, but Amazing Red has the worst look of any wrestler, and he has the least charisma of any wrestler. I'd say put him in a mask and say he can't speak English. It's the best thing you could do for the guy.
Yeah, but with the way they did it, it just came off too much like a ripoff of Sin Cara, who himself might be gone from the WWE. We don't know yet, but he's already been suspended, and there's talk that he's not coming back, which that would be a bust. But, yeah, I just didn't like the whole presentation because everybody just looked at it and said, "Tis poor Sin Cara," and that's what it was. And, hey.
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if I blinked and missed the end of the story or anything like that, but I just remember that it happened and then it wasn't happening anymore, and I just was kind of confused.
Well, he showed up at Destination X.
Yeah, they did this. It was actually pretty funny. It was a comedy segment where Eric Young was looking for a tag team partner, and he ran into Sariento, which is what was the character's name, Curryman, and Suicide. And Curryman explained that Suicide was injured, Sariento doesn't have a working visa right now, and Curryman had to save himself for a Fire Championship match against Cody Deaner.
Cody Deaner, that was one of the worst gimmicks ever.
Which one was that? Was he the redneck guy that was with ODB?
Yeah, he looked like a reject from that show, The Mullets, which failed horribly, so I don't know why you'd want to rip that off, but there you go.
It looked more like Luann's husband from King of the Hill. What was his, that wasn't Buckley, I can't remember what the hell his name was.
Yeah.
He was voiced by Tom Petty.
Ah, there you go. See, I did not know that. I did not know that. Huh. All right, guys, take it easy.
All right, later, everybody. Well, I'm about done for tonight unless there's anything else you want to discuss before we go, Nick.
Not really. Just say I'll say this. Hopefully with CM Punk actually there to keep them from doing stupid shit, WWE will not blow this storyline too badly, and we can actually enjoy it. Although I agree with you, they got to make Cena the heel, even though they won't. And I'll say this: I'm really enjoying the build to Hardcore Justice, and I'm really enjoying the story.
All right, and we will definitely stay tuned with that. So for James Walsh and Nick Knoll, thank you everybody for listening to us, and we will be back next week.